Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the episode, I need you to do the 3 S's for me. What is that? First of all, I need you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode of our podcast. Number 2, I need you to share it with your family and friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. Lastly, I need you to say something. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see from us, what you like, what you don't like. We are open to your suggestions. We want to know everything that you want to let us know about the podcast. All right. Now, get back to the episode. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube, to our podcast on our YouTube and all of our social media platforms that we have. Also, make sure you guys are checking us out on our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube, where not only will you find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, but also will find our sister podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where I have other conversations with other girl dads like myself in order to talk about the narrative of the daddy-daughter relationship. So make sure you guys go check that out. Again, checking us out on our new YouTube channel, the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Our product of the week, as you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way that we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase. And this week's product is our Purpose Journal, as well as our Purpose Planner, because we believe that you ought to journal in order to remember where you've been and keep track of where you are in your life right now, as well as plan for your future. And so you can get your Purpose Journal and your Purpose Planner on Amazon. The links will be in the description under the podcast, as well as other great information. So make sure you guys go check out the show notes, check out the descriptions, check out the information that we have under each episode, giving you more information and some great information there. But today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Mr. Matt. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been anywhere else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So, Matt, we're going to jump right into this thing. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
My name is Matt Melvin. I've been in Shelburne, Vermont since 1988, and I wrote a book called Bully Behind Bars, A Gay Christian Trump Supporter Goes to Prison. And my goal is to educate people on the criminal justice system so that nobody has to go through what I went through. And, you know, we all can choose the crime. We can't choose the consequence. So with every action, there's a reaction. Sometimes that reaction is a lot worse than the action.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And I definitely want to get into that, because I like that analogy. You said some descriptive words that I've never really heard together all at one time. Gay Christian Trump supporter. So that's how you. So I've never heard all of those to put together to describe oneself. So that is definitely interesting. So let's go back. Let's jump into this thing, Matt. So I always like to go back before the incident or whatever it was that that started the movement that you're on now. So before, Matt, that you had this, before the situation, we definitely talk about, how things kind of transpired in your story. Who were you before? Who was Matt, kind of growing up, and just a little bit more about yourself and your background, so we kind of get to know you a little bit.
Well, I was bullied constantly through middle school, high school, because I was overweight and gay, and I was made fun of. Mm-hmm. So, I am here to advocate against bullying and, the importance of finding your tribe, finding friends that you can relate to. And that certainly has been a challenge, making friends with guys who, sometimes think that you want a relationship with them, even though you're just trying to get to know them and you want a friendship. So it is kind of awkward. And this whole concept of heteronormativity is also a huge challenge. I mean, when you're not in that norm, you're seen as an outcast, you're seen as different. And then people start wondering what your motives are.
Yeah. And I think that's difficult. Number one, just in general, with meeting new people and trying to build friendships, it's hard enough. But then you throw in, being different, and definitely then it's like, you looked at sideways. And I definitely can even understand and relate to, even when you do meet people that, because of your personality, because of maybe how you connect with people, that even if they may not be used to, your personality, and then they're kind of like, okay, are you trying to get into a relationship, or are you just trying to be friends? Which is even a issue that I have myself at different times, meeting new people and just being like, okay, I'm not trying to, jump into a relationship. I'm just trying to get to know you, become, friends, kind of figure you out to see if we even like each other, even like being around each other, on a friendship level. But then, sometimes, again, because of your personality and maybe how you relate to people, and they're not, especially and we're not even going to start talking about dating, but in this climate, it's like people don't know your motives, because there are so much different things out there. So I definitely can relate to you on that part. So let's get into your story, because you talked about, going to prison, but you wrote the book. We'll talk about the book a little bit later. But tell us how this whole thing started. So, you mentioned about being bullied and things of that nature growing up. But at some point, you do kind of get moving on your own. So what was the catalyst that started this whole story that we're going to hear about today?
I was working at a car dealership in 2004. I earned commissions. The car dealership didn't pay me, so I took matters into my own hands and tried to sell one of their vehicles. I ended up going to court. Bob Wolford and Judge Jeffrey Crawford decided I didn't fit the mental health criteria, even though I've been seeing mental health therapists my whole entire life, and I'm on the Asperger's autism spectrum. And unfortunately, I had to go through the normal court system. If I had been able to go through the mental health court and completed it successully, I probably wouldn't have a criminal record today. I wouldn't be speaking to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I got out, when I got out in 2005, I couldn't find a job. So I used other people's information to pass a background check in 2009. And the government pursued me for 5.5 years, even though the statute of limitations in federal system is 5 years. So they completely threw the law out, with the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Was indicted in May of 2016 and ended up serving 18 months in 10 different facilities, and got out, went to a halfway house, which was even worse than the prisons, because you were in this small little house. I was in this small house, and because I was in for such a short period of time, because the amount of time you're in the halfway house is based on how much time you do in prison. And so I did a very short period of time. So I was only in there, I want to say, a month and a half. And I was not allowed to go out to volunteer. I couldn't find a job. It was like pulling teeth to even get me to be allowed to go to church for an hour a week. I mean, that was all I was given. And the church down the road, an all African-American church, the best church I've ever been to, was 3 hours. And so I ended up only being able to go to it an hour a week. But it was something. But it was far worse because I was isolated in this small house and couldn't go anywhere.
Right. So, and let's talk about that a little bit, because you mentioned several things about the criminal justice system, and starting from the beginning, which you said, just getting a fair trial, especially with having being related to mental health issues and them not taking you into consideration to be able to be identified, through that system. So are there two, well, I'm sure they are, but I'll ask you for, more information with the two different ways of looking at a regular person that's coming in, and then a person that's dealing with, mental health issues. Are there two separate criteria, should I say, that would have helped you in your situation when you came in? I think you mentioned about the judges not being able to give you, or not allowing you to be certified, where, like you mentioned, you wouldn't have a record today. So that being said, are there two different criteria, and can you tell me a little bit more about those criteria and how they differ?
You're not going to specifically tell me what the criteria is. It's a theory, what they feel deemed necessary under our corrupt judicial system, which is the worst judicial system in the world, quite frankly, because it's a two-tiered system. And quite frankly, if I had a drug problem, there's a much better understanding of why somebody commits a crime when they have a drug offense. This country does not understand mental health, and it's across the board, whether it's trying to get government assistance, trying to join a men's group. Just mental health is just something that is not well understood, and certainly not understood from the police department. There's very little training in how to deal with mental health problems.
Yeah.
And then just dealing with a rogue former police chief, Aaron Noble, got a $200,000 payout to go away a couple of years ago. I think he had a lot to do with why I was so vigorously pursued by the state of Vermont.
Yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit, because you mentioned about going to prison for the car situation, but then later on, after you get out, you're pursued again for 5 years. Was that related to the car incident, or was that with something altogether different?
No. In 2009, I couldn't pass a background check, so I used other people's information to get a job. And so between 2009 and 2016, the federal government chased me.
For like identity theft?
Yes.
Or something. Okay, cool. Okay, so you also mentioned about being transferred to 10 different prisons. What was the rationale behind that? Because like you mentioned, you didn't have a long stay. Well, for me, I would say, not have ever been in prison long could be different for me. But within the time period that you were there, being moved around to 10 different prisons, what would you say was the rationale behind that? Like, why did they move you around so much?
Because what would happen is I would be in a unit, and the inmates would lie and tell the guards that I was trying to proposition them. And then they would isolate me in solitary confinement, and I would start writing grievances. And it was a common pattern. And at one of the facilities, Essex, I got on the phone with my brother and told him what was going on. And my brother said, I will take care of it. And within 3 hours, Mei Chow from Secret Service and John Schroeder from the IRS showed up at my brother's place of employment. That's how intimidating the government is.
Wow. Okay. And they did that because he was trying to help you.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's the biggest gang in America is police. They protect each other. They lie and they lie and they lie and they lie and they lie.
I've heard that before, but never from your from the direction that you're coming from. I've definitely heard that in African American community, because of the things that we've dealt with, especially regarding police. So that's different to hear it coming from you, from your perspective. But I guess it's true around the board, from that perspective that there are definitely some things that need to be done, especially in this mental health in the mental health space, and getting the training that they need. And I think even somewhat sensitivity training, to be able to be sensitive to the plight of each citizen when they're going through something, because there's definitely been time that people have called for help and then end up in a worse situation, with the police than they were in the situation that they were calling for help from. So definitely, I believe also that there needs to be some work done in the police force and things of that nature. But one of the things that you mentioned, yeah, I mean, I'm
not a chance
hoping
it's ever going to happen.
You said you don't think it's ever going to happen?
No, I guarantee you it's never going to happen. It's so ingrained in these people, this cult-like mentality, whether it's the police departments to the DAs to the judges, they're all in it together. It's not ever going to change. So, I mean, I have friends that have served on juries, and I've heard from them, one guy said, hurry up, let's find this guy guilty. I got to go back to work. The other guy said, hurry up, let's find this guy guilty. I got to go to the hockey game. And so as a defendant, there's already this huge mountain to climb, because the natural tendency of any juror is this person wouldn't be there if they didn't do anything wrong. That's the natural tendency of any person who serves as a juror. So I don't ever want to hear when they say you have a juror of your peers. The defendant does not have a jury of his or her peers. The defense attorney has a juror of the peers. The judge, the lawyers, everybody who doesn't have a criminal record has a jury of their peers. The defendant does not.
Yeah, and that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective on it, and I never thought about it that way. I've been summoned for jury duty. I've never been picked to actually serve, and that definitely not asking to be, but I've never had been actually picked to serve. But I do understand that rationale that because people are, especially the citizens that are pulled to jury duty, generally you're pulled out of whatever it is that you had going on, and so a lot of people are just trying to get back to their regular lives and not necessarily thinking about the person whose life they have in their hand that they're making a decision on. And it's unfortunate that sometimes we do get those people that just want to get back to what they care about, and not necessarily taking the seriousness of taking the seriousness of doing the jury duty and being an active juror inside of the situation that they're in. I want to talk, one of the things that you mentioned about with the system being a two-tiered system, and you mentioned that it's like a different system for us as far as, I guess, the regular citizens, and then there's another system for people who may not be like us. So could you give me a little bit more information on that thought process, and why do you say that?
There's been people that have been involved in the rigging of the elections in 2016. Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, that will never see the light of day. These people are corrupt, they're evil, and they've engaged in a huge conspiracy against President Trump. and they will never be indicted because they're protected. And, if I were to go to trial in a progressive state like Vermont, just like those people who went to January 6th, I would have been found guilty.
Yeah. That's interesting, and I think that, and this is definitely not a politics podcast, and I usually don't even deal with politics, generally, but I do think that is interesting when, especially with the different things that have transpired over the last couple of years, with the elections and things of that nature, because there's definitely have been, some different some different characters that has definitely popped up in the last couple of years, and I think that even though things are a little different with our politics, I do think that we should definitely play a part in it, even if we don't think that things are necessarily going to change for our better, or that there's going to be any change, like you mentioned about the police reform, which is definitely a part of our government, that needs to be done. But I still think that we still have a part that we need to play as citizens, to kind of get those things to change. But I want to talk more now. Before we get out of here, we still have a couple minutes. I want to talk about the book itself, because you wrote a book about your experiences. So tell us a little bit more about the book, and what do you hope to that the reader will get out of listening to your story, and really kind of finding out what happened with you.
Well, I wrote the book because I wanted to chronologically share my story, just like Anne Frank when she was pursued and had to hide in captivity to protect her family. I felt the same way. I wanted to share my story so that nobody has to go through the torment, the torture, everything else that I had to deal with. And not just me, my family, my friends, everyone else, the shame that we have to deal with, because my name was in the paper, and the liberal news media totally misrepresented everything that occurred.
Yeah. So are you actively, I know you wrote the book, but are you actively trying to, or should I say, are you actively involved right now in, like, uh, lobbying for change with the criminal system, and for more better conditions for people like you that have been through the system, even because you even mentioned about the halfway house. Are you actively right now pushing an agenda to try to get those things changed, in politics, or are you just kind of sharing your story from that point of view to enlighten those regular citizens like myself who haven't been through the situations that you've been through? But are you lobbying right now in government to get some of these things changed?
I'm just sharing my story. My objective is to speak and enlighten teens that are engaging in marijuana, low-level drugs, that it will accelerate. You are the person you surround yourself with. So if you surround yourself with people that are engaging in criminal activity, you will do the same thing. If you're at a church and you're engaging with church members, you're probably going to be that. The best analogy I can give you is, if you have one wilted blueberry in a pack, soon all the blueberries will be wilted. So you are who you surround yourself to be around. And so I encourage people to surround themselves with positive people that are making good decisions. Not that I make the best decisions every day, but I surround myself with positive people that I can get advice from. And so that was the big piece. I wasn't really seeking out advice. I was sort of making decisions on my own. And in August of 2015, I had a near-death experience on 495 where I was almost killed, and that really opened my eyes, and that's really where Jesus changed my life, and I started giving up control and allowing God to take the wheel, and I allow him to make my decisions, because I know when I try to make the decisions, it's always wrong. But when I seek his counsel and ask for him to take over and tell me what to do, it's always much better.
Yes, definitely, and I agree with that. And I also want to just touch base on one of the things that you said about, I guess what they say, your birds of a feather flock together. Because of the company that you keep and the people that you are around, you even got to be mindful of your friends, even some of your family members, but your friends definitely, and those who you choose to be around, because you are a combination of those people. And like you mentioned, if those people that you spend the most time with are, getting into drugs or, illegal, any kind of illegal activities, and not even illegal activities per se, because there are some things that's legal that just still might not be good for you. Like alcohol is legal, but then you don't want to be a drunk. You know what I'm saying? So there's even things that's legal that in moderation or out of moderation could definitely be, not good for you as a person. So you definitely have to monitor, the people that you're around. Look for more positive people. Look for people who can guide you so that you're making decisions that's going to lead you in the direction that you want to go. And so I'm glad that you found that, you were able to recognize that even in your own life, because a lot of times you mentioned about, wanting to get your message to teens. A lot of times coming out of our teenage years, we think we have it figured out, and so we're kind of making moves on our own and not looking for that mentorship, not looking for those people to give us the advice that we need to make better decisions. So I'm glad that you were able to find that. You even pointed that out. But before we get out of here, really quickly, I want to go back to the book a little bit more, because you would share your story, and now that the book is finished, and I know that you were going on different podcasts and things of that nature, what do you wish to accomplish as an overall, by sharing your story and having this book? What is the main goal that you want to accomplish with it?
I want to speak in front of large groups of people and share my story, share my testimony.
Yeah. Okay. And share your testimony in order to, just bring light to the criminal system. I just, because I'm just want to overall just understand, like, the mission, like what is Matt's mission with, the purpose behind telling your story. Because I definitely, all of us have a story to tell, but I think all of us don't necessarily have a mission. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm being able to convey your mission to our listening audience, so that we're even more able to get behind, what it is that you're doing. So that's
My
why
mission
I
is
was
to
asking.
enact change.
Okay, cool. All right. So we're definitely going to support you, Matt. The book is on Amazon. The links will be in the description for you guys to be able to take advantage of, to watch, to listen, to get the book, to be able to purchase it and learn more, even in detail, of Matt's story, and to be able to connect with him. So, Matt, I want you to have the last word, right? And I want you to leave us with a word of advice, if you want to say that, word of advice, inspiration, however you feel, and also your social media handles and things of that nature, where we can find you and follow you to be able to support you. In the meantime, I'll give you a second to think about that. But in the meantime, for my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure that you guys are checking us out on our main website, which is the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, dealhealfulfill.org. And also make sure you guys are checking out my new website, which is ernestjamesspeakslife.com. That website is my speaker's website to have me to come out to be a speaker at your school, church, organization, for us to, lead a workshop or anything like that. So make sure that you guys go to our regular website, which is dealhealfulfill.org, and also check me out at our website of ernestjamesspeakslife.com. Also, ebooks by ejames.com. I've written several ebooks. We talked a little bit about getting direction and mentorship. I have one ebook called From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring ebook for young men. And the one that I'm really proud of that's doing well right now is Forgiving Me, the 4-Step Guide to Self-Forgiveness. Both of those books, as well as some others, ebooks that I've written, can be found at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. Make sure you guys go there and check that out. And also our podcast merch at deal2healtees.com. That's deal, the number 2, healtees.com, which is our inspirational t-shirt line. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. So you can go there and find some of our inspirational t-shirts including our podcast merch, which is our t-shirts with our podcast logos on it. There's one for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as well as one for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Last but not least, over the last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops bi-monthly talking about everything surrounding forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world. And we have these conversations because we believe that forgiveness is one of the things that we're missing very badly in our world that definitely will make a difference in our lives personally and in the lives of those that we come in contact with. So again, you can go to forgivenessmission.com to sign up for our next free virtual workshop, or you can go to Eventbrite to sign up for look up Forgiveness Workshop sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission in order to sign up for our next website, our next workshop. So whenever you're listening to this, either a workshop just ended or there's one that's coming up. So again, you go to forgivenessmission.com in order to sign up for our next free forgiveness virtual workshop. Matt, again, I want to say thank you so very much for being on, for sharing your story. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
Yes, so if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me on my website, bullybehindbars.com. You can email me at bullybehindbars@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram, bullybehindbars, X, Bars Bullied, and Facebook, Matthew.Melvin.5621. So feel free to reach out to me.
Yes, and do you want to leave us with a word of advice or anything like that? Any parting words?
You can always choose the crime. You can't choose the consequence.
Yeah. All right. That's a word. So we can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with the problem, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Tees. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. Let's go to deal2healtees.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.